we recognize that back in the first century, the idea of logos was shared with Stoics and others. It's the creative reason. It's this eternal reason that renders the world intelligible, and not just the physical universe, but even our own souls and our relationships as well. But what Paul is doing, that you gesture toward, is that logos, the word, Jesus, from the beginning, is not only the creative reason, but the redemptive reason. Mm-hmm. That redemption is not plan B. That what Christ's coming does is to fulfill the purpose of creation. So it was never meant to be merely the natural law, although if that's all it was, we would still love God more than self and love neighbor as self. Mm-hmm. But it was elevated by the Mosaic law. But just as we don't revert to the Mosaic law, much less the natural moral law, we see the law of Christ, but it does not negate the natural law. It takes it to the level whereby we are not only fulfilling our nature as good citizens, we are being divinized as sons and daughters of God. So it's like the natural law plus the Mosaic law not only adds up to the law of Christ, but the law of Christ in a way surpasses it, but it turns around and illuminates it as like, okay, not only was the natural moral law not a set of handcuffs or a straitjacket, it was always meant to fulfill our nature. And then after idolatry set in, God gave to Moses a law that would be like corrective lenses for people whose vision is blurred by worldliness. But ultimately, Christ isn't coming along, as you again suggested, imposing something that is extrinsic or alien, but really calling out the very thing that we are. Right. Not what we have as human nature, but who we are as persons as well, in these relations that we might describe as social or familial, but clearly we would prefer to emphasize the word covenantal relations.
Indeed.
Because that alone really sets into motion the kind of things that indicate why Mother Church, in a certain stroke of genius, selects these neighbors,
yes.
These scripture passages.
Right, and I can't resist, Scott, pointing out that the verses before our Deuteronomy reading.
I was hoping you'd go there.
Deuteronomy 30, 1 through 6.
Moses predicts in broad strokes how the rest of salvation history is going to go. And climactically, he says, after you go to exile and you return and all these ups and downs, God is going to circumcise your heart and the hearts of your children so that you will be able to fulfill the law. And that relates to Acts 2:37 and 38, Pentecost, where it says that after listening to Peter's preaching on the day of Pentecost, they were cut to the heart, okay? And then they received baptism and they received the Holy Spirit. The cutting of the heart, the circumcision of the heart, circumcision was a covenant-making sign.
Right.
So circumcision of the heart refers to a covenant that's made in an interior way, a more deeper, ontological, essential, natural way than merely making a cut on your body. And so the circumcision of the heart in Deuteronomy 30, verse 6, is really Moses looking forward to the new covenant, where God is going to infill us with his love through the Holy Spirit. That's Romans 5:5. And the love of God dwelling within us, yes, enables us to fulfill the law, but much more than that, because the law can never capture the fullness of divine love, which is a living personal thing. So yes, the Holy Spirit leads us to fulfill the law, but if it only did that, that would be short of its goal and its purpose. It leads us to go beyond. Perfectly demonstrated in the life of Christ, who did not legally need to go to the cross for us, but exceeds what was, as it were, legally required of him in order to make this effusive act of love, which works our redemption, which is also prefigured in the abundance of wine at Cana, the abundance of food at the multiplication of 5,000. All those are signs of this overflowing abundance of love, and then his overflowing love at the cross, again symbolized in the blood and water gushing forth, just this unending fire hydrant of God's love that does not contradict the law, fulfills everything, and so much more.